An entitled Wal-Mart Karen tries to force me out of a mobility scooter, claiming that I'm faking my disability, resulting in me not only reporting her to corporate, but also reporting her to the police. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, I'm an 18-year-old female, but sometimes people think I'm either 15 or 16 years old due to me having a baby face and severe acne. I have POTS, along with permanent nerve damage in my legs. This leads to me using mobility scooters in stores like Walmart if I can find them. And at this point, I'm sure you can see exactly where this is going. Now, I go grocery shopping with my dad, and he helps me with things that I might not be able to get by myself, especially if I can't find a mobility cart. So we walk into Walmart, and I see 3 mobility carts lined up against the wall. My dad then tells me that he's going to the bathroom, so I get in a cart and I wait by the shelves nearest to the entrance. An employee then asks me if I'm waiting for anyone, and I tell her that I'm waiting for my dad. Now, I'm not sure if she saw us walk in or not, but it also didn't click for me that she may be questioning about why I'm on the cart. My dad then comes out of the bathroom and meets up with me, and off we go. But before I get very far, the Walmart employee yells at me, "Ma'am, that cart is for handicapped people only." And when she said this, I was taken aback. So I stutter and I say, "I know, I am handicapped." She then replies to me and says, "You walked in here, didn't you? You can walk around the store." Well, getting more irritated, I tell her that the details of my disability are none of her business, but I can assure her that I am. She then walks over to me, turns off the cart, and tries to yank me out of it. My dad steps in and gets in between her and I, and he says to her, "What do you think you're doing? My daughter said she's disabled. Are you really going to interrogate everyone who grabs this cart about their health?" She then gets red in the face and says she's too young to be disabled. She's just being lazy. At this point, I thought my dad was going to start throwing hands with this woman. Well, we obviously attracted a crowd because security walks over. My dad and I explain the situation, and to her credit, she says exactly what happened. The security guard asks if I have proof of disability, so I get up and I start walking with my legs buckling and my right leg being bowed in. Well, apparently that's good enough proof for him because he just walks off. She then says to me, "Well, why didn't you do that in the first place?" But I tell her because I don't need to prove anything to a random stranger with no authority. Now, this Karen seems slightly embarrassed and mumbles something under her breath and then goes back to where she was standing. And while my dad and I ended up still going on with our shopping, once it was all said and done and we got home, I ended up calling the corporate number and reporting her. Now, I didn't have a name, but I had the times and her description, and I'm not sure if anything will become of this or not. Also, I filed a police report and I contacted the store manager. The officer I talked to said that he'd see what he can do about this, and the store manager said that he would get to the bottom of it and that there will be consequences. And honestly, I'm hoping that there actually are. And while I'm not sure that the officer took my report seriously, there does seem to be some kind of action taken. Wow, I cannot imagine being so bored with your life, especially working at Walmart, where you feel the need to walk up to someone and be like, "You need to prove that you're disabled." Like, what universe are we in right now? That is so unbelievably unethical and probably illegal. Like, I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that violates some law somewhere in the United States. But also just from like a humanity standpoint, who in their right mind would be like, "Well, if you walked into the store, that must mean that you're not actually disabled and that you're just lazy." Like, if someone really has that viewpoint, and I mean like seriously, that's actually what they think, then they have no business working in a forward-facing customer service position. What a horrible and cruel thing to say to somebody, forcing them to prove that they're disabled. And the same goes for security. The fact that they had to be like, "Well, can you prove you're disabled?" Like, at that point, I would have been like, "No, but my lawyer can." Like, are you kidding me right now? This honestly is so inappropriate, and I am so sorry that that happened to you. And hopefully this Walmart Karen really does get fired, because what she did to you is completely unacceptable. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I overreacting for being angry with my husband over his mom crossing boundaries in our home? Because after I found out that she rearranged my entire house, I became incredibly pissed. And now I'm not sure if I messed up. Here's what happened. Okay, so I just got back from a long business trip, and 10 minutes after I walked in the door, I completely lost it. Here's the situation. While I was away, my husband's mom stayed at our house for a few days. She lives in another city, so this was a temporary visit. During my trip, my husband kept telling me how she was complaining about everything in the house. Now, we've been together for 2.5 years, and she actually helped me decorate the place before we met. And apparently, she kept criticizing the changes we've made to the decor since then. My husband told her it's none of her business and reminded her that she's a guest in our home. Also, this isn't the first time there's been an issue. During a previous visit, I woke up to find her cleaning and reorganizing, even though the house was already clean. Well, I immediately told her to stop and asked my husband to set clear boundaries. Fast fast forward to yesterday, and my husband went to the office. She was supposed to leave the house, lock up, and put the key in the mailbox. But when my husband got home, he found that she had reorganized everything. My closet, my makeup, his clothes, the pantry. She even switched the carpets in the room. To top it all off, she texted him a picture of the 2 new carpets that she planned to buy for us. When I got home, I started noticing all the changes, and I was furious. My husband was in a meeting, so I had a bit of time to process everything before confronting him, but when he was free, I told him that his mom is no longer welcome in our home unless I'm there as well. If I'm traveling and he wants to see her, then he can visit her instead. Now, I was upset that I made him call her and tell her that she crossed a major boundary, and he reminded her that she's just a guest and has no right to make changes to our home. But when that happened, she started crying and said that since she lost her husband last March, she's been feeling useless and just wants to help. So seriously, did I overreact? Am I the jerk for how I handled this situation? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, honestly, anytime someone's trying to pull like the pity card, that for me is a huge red flag. And no, I'm not downplaying the fact that she lost her husband. Like, that really is horrible and I feel for her, but that doesn't excuse the fact that she rearranged your entire house. Like, if she wanted to clean up and be like, oh, let me spruce up the place before I leave, like, that would be normal. Even that is kind of a stretch for me, but that would be at least reasonable. But for her to turn around and change everything in the house to the way that she wanted it, like, that is crazy and there's no good excuse for that. So no, you're not the jerk here. She can cry and scream about this all she wants, but honestly, this was a big step over the line. So in my opinion, I think you had every right to put your foot down. Am I the jerk for getting mad at my wife after she forgot to pick up our son from basketball practice, all because she was distracted playing Dress to Impress on Roblox? Because right now, I'm still very pissed off and I'm not sure what to do. Here's what happened. So my wife and I have always tried to keep the housework pretty evenly split between us. I, for example, mow the lawn and do laundry and dishes, and she plans out the meals or cooks, or picks up the kids and drops them off as well. But lately, this has all changed because she's become addicted to a game called Dress to Impress on Roblox. If you're not familiar, it's a game where you have to dress your character in a themed outfit all before the time runs out, and the other players rate it from 1 to 5 stars. Now, this started off harmless, just a thing that she would do during her downtime before bed. But recently, she has missed crucial appointments and chores because of this game. I tried to be understanding and gently remind her to do things, but she would always say that she forgot or got distracted. Well, fast forward, and the big argument happened last night when she forgot to pick up our 9-year-old son from basketball practice, which ended at 6 o'clock. I had not gotten home yet as I had to work late, and our son doesn't have a phone, so I had no way of knowing the situation. I eventually got home at around 7 o'clock, and I realized he was not in his room. I looked around further, and I saw that he was nowhere to be found. I then walked into our bedroom confused, wanting to ask my wife where he was, and I found her on her iPad playing the game as always. When I asked her where our son was, her eyes grew wide, and I knew what happened without her having to say it. I then immediately got back into my car and I went to pick him up. And luckily, his coach had stayed after to make sure he was picked up safe, and I apologized profusely. Apparently, he had been calling and texting my wife, who was the emergency contact, and she just didn't even notice. When we got home, I immediately blew up at her. How could she be so addicted to a kid's game that she completely forgot our son? But now she's telling me it was a one-time thing and that I'm a jerk for getting angry, and I honestly don't know what to think. I do kind of understand her side of the story, as it has only happened one time, but she has to be a responsible parent. She can't just completely forget about our child who has no way to get home on his own. So am I in the wrong here, or am I justified for getting pissed off? Oh my gosh, what is happening right now? This is beyond irresponsible. This is literally just straight up neglect in my opinion. You mean to tell me that this lady seriously went out of her way to play this stupid game and didn't realize that it was well past her son's basketball practice? And then she tries to be like, wow, you're a jerk. This only happened one time. And it's like, wait a second, this should not have happened in the first place. Because I know if I was in the original poster's shoes, I would be pissed off as well. I would be losing my mind. I would be so mad at her. So no, you're definitely not the jerk, because there is literally no good excuse for her behavior. My girlfriend is incredibly pissed off at me after I bought a vanity set that she didn't want, resulting in her freaking out on me and screaming at me for getting it wrong. And now I really don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I want to start off by saying that I feel like this is kind of an overreaction, but maybe I'm just wrong. For starters, my girlfriend's birthday was coming up, and I wanted to get her something really nice. I've noticed throughout our whole relationship that she does her makeup on the floor in front of a mirror, and it always looks so uncomfortable. She has complained of it several times, so I decided it would be a great idea to get her a vanity set. I did some research and I found a couple that she would like, but I knew she was picky, and so I asked her if she was planning on buying a vanity set ever. She showed me the vanity set that she wanted, and I made sure to add that set to my Amazon list. A few months went by and I was ready to buy the set, but I come to find out that it was sold out. I desperately looked at other sites and the manufacturer, but the set would not come for over a month after her birthday. And also keep in mind that I decided to buy it a month before, so this was definitely not last minute. Well, I still felt bad, so I decided to spend some more time researching what set to buy. I finally came across one that matched the style and color of other furniture that she had purchased, and it was more expensive than the one that she wanted, so I bought it thinking that she would like it even if it was not the one that she asked for. Well, unfortunately, I was completely wrong. My girlfriend's birthday finally comes around, and she goes off to her sister's while I spend 2 hours building this set right after work. When she finally comes home and I show it to her, I could clearly tell something was wrong. She was quiet and didn't seem too happy. She then started bawling her eyes out, saying that she hates it because it wasn't the one she wanted. Well, I explained to her that I couldn't get the one that she wanted yet, but if she didn't like it that much, I could wait for it to come back and buy it and sell the one that I just bought her. Well, saying that only made her even more mad and upset. She then went on a rant about how she hates birthdays and that I shouldn't have gotten her anything. Again, this vanity set matches everything else that she likes, and it wasn't some cheap set. She told me to simply sell the set and keep the money because she does not want anything from me on her birthday. So seriously, am I in the wrong for getting the wrong set? Because right now I'm incredibly confused. Wow, this is definitely an overreaction. I cannot imagine getting a gift on your birthday and freaking out like this and being like, wow, you didn't get the right one. I wish you didn't get me anything. How dare you? It's like, what in the world is going on? How is that any kind of an appropriate response to getting a gift? She didn't even try to listen to your explanation. She just said, oh my god, this is so bad. Sell it. I don't even want it. Keep the money. This sucks. Like, is this really that big of a deal that she can't just try and enjoy it and be like, oh, my boyfriend did the best that he could and this is really nice? Because what's the alternative? Laying on the ground and doing your makeup in front of a mirror? Like, seriously, what's going on? This sucks so much. So no, you're not the jerk for getting the wrong set. You literally did the best that you could in preparation for her birthday. It wasn't last minute and you really did the best that you could. So the fact that she's yelling at you and getting on your case, even though it wasn't the right set, in my opinion, is a red flag and something that you do not deserve in the slightest. My toxic former business partner tries to sell off our business venture without my knowledge of it, literally going behind my back to make a deal, also that he could pay off one of his debts. So I decided to get some revenge in a way that this guy truly never expected. Here's what happened. Years ago, at the age of 26, I entered a partnership in a small CD and music store with a man in his 50s who already owned another store. The partnership was meant to share buying costs and advertising. Once we opened though, I discovered he was skimming inventory and we had leased a much larger space than necessary under the pretense of him subleasing the extra space for his office, which by the way never happened. After 3 exhausting years, during which he continued his dishonest practices, the store went totally broke. We had around $25,000 in equipment and another $20,000 in inventory. Although he ripped me off, to avoid a legal battle, I agreed that we'd sell off the remaining inventory and equipment, and we would split the profits. I needed to get away from him quickly, even though my share would be far less than what he took from me. Now, my star employee and manager, whom my partner had since taken to his other store, informed me that my partner was negotiating a sale of everything the next morning, just to settle a debt of his. Well, realizing my partner intended to keep me in the dark, I hired movers to empty the storage space that we had rented. I took back all my belongings early the next morning, and as we were leaving, I saw the other truck arriving. Later that day, my ex-manager confirmed that the truck was from the debt collector, and their crew arrived to find the garage empty. They eventually ended up in court, each of them accusing the other, and it ended with my ex-partner still on the hook for his debt. I then called him up, acting like I wanted the update on when we would sell the inventory and the furnishings, but he simply said that it was stolen, and then I hung up as if I was upset. I sold off the remaining equipment over the next year, slowly recouping part of my losses. Now, if he had just been honest with me, at least during our liquidation, nearly $20,000 of that would have been his. But in total, he took much more than that from me, so no, I didn't feel I took a thing from him. Fast forward to 4 to 5 years later, and I spotted him in a restaurant parking lot as I was driving off. He smugly asked how I was doing, fully aware of his wrongdoings. I then replied that I was fantastic. Then with a huge grin on my face, I said to him, so you still haven't figured out where that stuff went, huh? His smug smile then turned to fury as I drove off, telling him to have a wonderful day. And honestly, it feels so good to get some petty revenge on a guy that absolutely deserved it. Wow, I can't stand people who are dishonest like this. And I'm not talking about the original poster here. I think they were well within their right to sell things off and get as much money out of this as they could. I'm talking about the partner who literally tried to sell all of this off in some kind of weird, shady attempt to pay off his debt, but also avoid paying the original poster. So yeah, good for you for getting back at this guy, because the way he treated you is absolutely unacceptable. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for speaking bluntly to my ex-girlfriend, who's come back into my life after 4 years to try and get back in a relationship with me after she dumped me in a way that honestly devastated me, because right now I really don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I shared some hard truths with my ex after she expressed a desire for us to get back together, and I seriously need some outside perspective on this entire situation. For starters, the both of us are 26 years old, and we started dating almost 2 years ago and have been broken up for about 4 years. We met while I was in a compulsory language year abroad in Korea. Studying abroad was good for me, and it expanded my worldview. I met people I still call friends, and it helped me come into myself. I can't deny my ex wasn't a big part of that. She helped me transition and made Korea feel like a second home. She was my first love. I shared a deep connection with her, and we were in the same friend group for both the locals and the exchange students. Our relationship had challenges, but she championed that we were in it together. Our biggest challenge was her dad. He'll only approve of her being with a Korean man and not a foreigner like me. Now, family is important to my ex, and I didn't want her to have to choose. She said she'd try her best to convince her family and make them understand, but either way, she wanted to be with me. Well, she broke up with me over FaceTime. Her reason was that she couldn't continue our relationship past family opposition, how important family was, and at the boyfriend stage, I wasn't family. And it was then that I realized I had nothing I could say. Her mind was made up. Shortly after, she began dating another guy in our friend group who was Korean, and it really stings with how soon she would get together with him and who the guy was. He was an insecurity in our relationship because he was constantly called my ex's perfect match by others, and she would reassure me no matter what. It really hurt seeing them together and hearing about him being with her family, and eventually our friend group fell apart after we broke up. The breakup was a bad period for me. I loved her and really thought that I found my person. I was looking into leaving everything behind and staying abroad for her. I lost her, some friends, my mental health went in a slump, and my grades slipped, but I worked through it to a better place. I completed the program on a good note, and I eventually returned home. And the last I heard, she had gotten engaged to the guy. She then texted me out of the blue. She had gotten my number from someone in our old friend group. We exchanged a few text messages, and it wasn't anything major, and we ended up calling the next day and caught up. Talking with her again was strange. We hadn't talked since I moved back home, and it turns out her aunt and I are in the same city now. Well, she's visiting her aunt soon, and she wants to meet up with me. She went into how she's not with that guy anymore, and they were only married for a year as she is divorced now. She's been reflecting and has regrets, including about what happened with us, and it was then that she asked if I would be open to giving us another chance. Now, this was a lot to take in. I told her she wasn't saying anything different than before. She said we were kids back then, but not now. Well, I said she was right. We're not kids, but I don't trust a word she says anymore. I don't trust her. She told me that I wasn't being fair, but I meant what I said. She never stated how things would even be different for us now either. I can't reopen that door and be with her like I once was, only for her to upend everything again. Some of our mutual friends are reaching out and speaking up for her. They're saying I'm not giving her a fair chance and that I was too harsh. But I spoke from an honest place considering our history, but right now I'm honestly second guessing myself because at this point I don't know what to do. Oh man, I would not doubt that first instinct that you have. The fact that any of these friends are like, you're being too harsh on her. Like I would turn around and be like, wait a second, I thought I wasn't family. She literally said you're just a boyfriend and you're not my family. And my family pressure is more important than staying with you. And it's like, oh okay, where'd that get you? It resulted in you getting divorced after a year and coming back to me after 4 years. And sure, that might be harsh, but guess what? I am absolutely on the original poster side here. I think their first instinct is correct, and I just would not be very willing to accept anybody like this back into my life. Especially with her going to the guy that everybody was like, oh yeah, you should go with him. You guys would be a perfect match. Like if I was the original poster and I saw that, I would be connecting so many dots it's not even funny. Because then I would honestly understand, oh okay, you didn't actually want to be with me. You wanted to be with a guy that would make you look good in front of your family, not the foreigner that you thought you could love but clearly you can't because your family doesn't like him. And what's to say that's even gonna change if you do get back with her? Like this lady is basically inviting you to open up that sore wound and try to be like, hey, let's try this one more time. Let me break your heart again. So seriously, no, in my opinion, I think you absolutely have every right to walk away and keep moving forward in another direction. Because let's not forget, this lady dumped you over FaceTime. And in my opinion, you have no time for anyone who's gonna act like that. Am I the jerk for not responding to my friend when our final project was due and she had not done her share of our project? Here's what happened. Okay, so I have a college friend who we will call Anna, who's in the same program as me. We've always gotten along because of our similar backgrounds, but Anna has never been very responsible with school. For example, during a second semester group project, she procrastinated and had to do her part last minute. And after that, I avoided doing assignments with her, but I stayed friends since it didn't affect our relationship. Well, fast forward to December December 2024, and we had a final project together, and Anna actually got to pair with me while I missed class due to work. Now for context, I was juggling 9 courses and had 2 part-time jobs, while Anna wasn't working and had fewer courses. We didn't put in much effort outside of class, and we split the jobs up. I would handle the presentation, concept development, and social ads, while she added text and finalized our visuals. Well, the night before it was due, Anna refused to help with the social ads when I asked about it, and I wasn't mad, and I figured that she would just finish her part. I went to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, only to wake up to messages from her at 3 in the morning saying her computer wasn't working and it was sending incomplete files. I had work at 8 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't fix them in time. At 10:40 in the morning, the time the class started, Anna texted me saying she had just woken up and wouldn't make it on time. And at this point, I got really mad. So I finished her part, which took me literally 5 minutes, and I ignored her phone calls and her text messages. She even contacted my boyfriend to find me. Anna then showed up just as I started presenting, and I quickly told her what to say. The presentation went well, but she left immediately after that. Afterwards, I apologized via text messaging for ignoring her, and everything seemed fine. We didn't talk again until Christmas when I sent her a holiday message, and she replied warmly, even saying that she missed me. Now, the new semester has started, and Anna isn't in the class we planned to take together. I've texted her a few times, including asking if she's mad, and she hasn't replied, even though she posts on social media and watches my stories. I know I was petty for not answering her that day, but everything seemed okay afterwards. So should I reach out again to apologize, or should I just let it go? Because right now this scenario is bothering me and I honestly don't know what to do. Okay, seriously, I do not think you should bring this up again. Anna is clearly a lazy group partner, and she did nothing but make excuses and put this off until the last second, basically forcing you to do all the work. And I honestly cannot stand people who act like that. Seriously, because then it makes your life miserable. You can't move forward with your project, and everything comes to a screeching halt if Anna even did what she needed to do. So no, I don't think you're the jerk for ignoring her and just doing her part, but also I would make sure that if you do have classes with her, you never partner with her ever again, because chances are Anna probably won't get through college, and in my opinion, this is not someone who's ever going to be helpful. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.